Hi, my name is Cleo Maloney. I'm a junior double majoring in the history of art and studio art, graduating in 2025. Today, I will be talking about some works from the Yale Center for British Art's Prints and Drawings collection, which is especially notable for the extensive collection of William Blake works. And that is the genesis of my presentation today. Paul Mellon, the founder of the Yale Center for British Art, went to Yale and also studied British literature at Cambridge, where he began his rare book collection and interest in William Blake. Mellon's contributions to the YCBA are not just painting and sculpture, as you see in the galleries, but also works on paper, rare books, and manuscripts. These are available for the public to view, so I hope by the end of this presentation, I will have encouraged you to make an appointment to come and see these works in person. My focus today is principally just one of William Blake's works, his Songs of Innocence and of Experience, and how through both text and illustration, Blake visualizes 18th century London and his shifting attitudes towards the city as it transformed from a city on the precipice of liberal reform to one consumed by the complex ramifications of rapid industrialization by the end of the century. I will start by providing some context on William Blake as an artist and how he differs from the artistic standards of the time. Then I will move on to talking about his Songs of Innocence and of Experience. Finally, I will conclude with a mention of Blake's last book, where he actually revisits the same representation of London he first illustrated decades earlier in his songs. My key questions, guiding questions are: how does William Blake stand apart from his artistic contemporaries? What is the condition of the city of London as revealed in Blake's illustrations? How might Blake's work reflect the broader political landscape of the 18th century in Western Europe? To begin, William Blake was born in a family of haberdashers living on Broad Street in Georgian London on November 28th, 1757. He was steeped and raised on a street devoted to artisan craftsmen during a time of rapid artistic change. This change was partly because Britain more assertively defined itself as an imperial power following the end of the 7 Years' War in 1763. The economy subsequently exploded, funded by the exploitation of enslaved labor in the not yet independent colonial Americas. From this increase in imperial wealth and ambition, artists saw institutional support for the first time through the Royal Academy of Arts, founded in 1768, guided by the presidency of painter Sir Joshua Reynolds. At the age of 21, which is much younger than the portrait of Blake seen in the slideshow, in 1779, after William Blake apprenticed as an engraver throughout his adolescence, he enrolled as a student in the academy. Despite Blake's reputation of dissent against the teaching methods of Sir Joshua Reynolds, here's an image of Sir Joshua Reynolds, and this is a copy actually of one of his self-portraits with a bust of Michelangelo, which I think says a lot about what Reynolds thought of himself. However, Blake's time at the Academy and his exposure to institutional resources cemented his destiny as an artist. In 1789, he set up his first print studio next door to his family home on Broad Street, which was the same artisan community from his childhood. And here's that bust of Michelangelo. Though the arts were blossoming in other areas of London, in the West End, which is just north of Broad Street, Blake never quite lived in the fine arts neighborhoods of his artistic contemporaries, who made art that fit Reynolds Academy standards and looked a lot like these paintings. Instead, Blake lived amidst the artisan class and produced works on paper rather than grand oil paintings. He had a reputation of being a radical poet, but he was also a radical painter. Blake began his career in a neighborhood predisposed to riots as pictured in this reimagining of the condition of Broad Street in 1780. His life was filled with economic uncertainty, but he never relented on his dedication to his craft. With his work of Songs of Innocence beginning in 1789, Blake also began work on his most integrated form of painting and prose yet. Songs of Innocence was written in the pastoral style. Pastoral means a kind of focused idealism towards rural life. Examining the time period preceding Songs of Innocence is integral to understanding the evolution of the tone in Blake's prose. The 1780s was a decade of liberal promise throughout Western Europe. In 1781, Britain surrendered at Yorktown in colonial America. In greater continental Europe, revolution brewed as the potential for real change emerged in France. The tiers état, the French bourgeois and working class members of the same class to which Blake belonged, established the framework for a more democratic government through the Tennis Court Oath of 1789. Political hope emerged, and regardless of whether or not Blake was aware of these changes immediately, this spirit of promise is reflected in his images in Songs of Innocence. As historian William Vaughan summarizes in his biography, William Blake, published in 1999, Innocence was engraved when the hopes of the liberal and progressive-minded for harmonious reform were high. Only a few years later, this light is extinguished in Songs of Experience. The Reign of Terror began. In response, the British government passed new right-wing constrictive laws. Suddenly, all possibility of reform was shattered, and this socio-political disillusionment appears in Blake's plates too, particularly in the dramatically contrasting themes he returns to again in both Songs of Innocence and Songs of Experience. We can see this transition in mood by comparing the respective title pages for Songs of Innocence and of Experience. Beginning with the cover of Songs of Innocence, Blake illustrates a fantastical fruit-laden tree against a rainbow-saturated sky. The weaving of text and image is reminiscent of the Gothic tradition of illuminated manuscripts. Here's an example from the Center's collection from the 14th century. The Gothic period dates from about the 12th or 13th century to the 16th century, and influenced media from architecture all the way to book illustration. What's most important to note for this presentation is the illustrations that occupy the margins on these two pages, as seen on the left, and also how letters spill into the margins as seen on the right. This is called marginalia. In Blake's time in the 1790s, printmaking was done using single plates into which images were engraved. Text was often added in the form of a caption, as single letter blocks for printing presses could not be printed at the same time as the plate itself, since it would disrupt the necessary flatness of the image needed to roll it through a press. If the printer wanted to print text and image on the same plate, it had to be engraved freehand, which was much more difficult and was Blake's method of choice. From the song's text, miniature figures abound in these lush plants growing upwards. The freehand engraving actually mirrors the floral imagery in Blake's language and his use of marginalia. Marginalia, again, meaning the text and images in the margins. Beneath this tree sits a maternal figure reading to two smaller figures. She appears as a teacher to these two children, as if Blake suggests the material in this text could be read as educational to help shape young minds. The scene appears in the country. It is pastoral, as in rural and idealized, and the lightness is expressed through color as well as through the implied motion of these upwards swirling lines. Beneath this image, Blake engraves his byline, the author and printer W. Blake, forwarding an equivalency between both text and image. He sees himself as a writer and as an artist. However, this lightness is contrasted pretty immediately when you compare it to the title page for Songs of Experience. Colors here are much less saturated, and the two figures witnessed in Songs of Innocence appear to have aged and are now weeping over the dead, as if they're finally coming to terms with their age and mortality, which escaped them in youth. They hunch over the bodies before them in a very gray built environment. The stone column bases appear heavy and somewhat claustrophobic, unlike the Innocence pastoral open landscape. The text here is less embellished. The flowers that once blossomed in Innocence have yellowed. And this shift from the pastoral to the built environment could have actually been witnessed by Blake in his own time. He would have been able to reach the countryside from his residence in Soho in London by walking west down Oxford Street for about 20 minutes. However, he would have first needed to cross through the expanding suburbs of the West End, which were previously not there. And the growth in this area ultimately precipitated the construction of Paddington Station, which was subsequently responsible for the boom of transportation infrastructure almost 50 years later. Such contrasts in Songs of Innocence and of Experience and their relationship to the city of London witnessed by Blake continue in his Chimney Sweeper poems. Some of the more progressive themes of Songs of Innocence are expressed towards the beginning of the book. The Chimney Sweeper is the third song, placed after the pastoral joy of the introduction and the echoing green. The plate design is extremely ornate. At a first glance, the leaves and texts are kind of an inseparable swarm on this yellow-pink sky, very reminiscent of the title page we just looked at. The text itself tells the story of a child dreaming of joyous liberation in heaven and the liberation that awaits children killed by the harsh labor conditions of chimney sweeping. At the bottom of the plate, figures dance away from a large, undefinable figure, possibly, we'll get there in a second, possibly an angel like the one mentioned in the text, reaching for a child. Blake's inclusion of this theme speaks to the growing awareness of the harshness of the profession for children at the time. In 1788, right before Blake published Songs of Innocence, an act was passed requiring sweeps to be at least 8 years old before they could be trained in the profession, which I know is egregious. In truth, this law was also very rarely followed, and younger children were working as chimney sweeps, but the act stood as an initial symbol of reforming labor in the city of London. Though disturbing, the chimney sweeper is filled with hope, even if that hope is encountered only after death. Blake writes, and the angel told Tom if he'd be a good boy, he'd have God for his father and never want joy. This hope disappears in the Chimney Sweeper and Songs of Experience. Once again, this dramatic shift is immediately recognizable in the change of color palette between these two plates. As mentioned above, the progressivism in Songs of Experience is referenced first in the color palette and secondly in the language of the poem. The environment around the figure is dreary and rainy. That floral marginalia, which once blossomed from the text of the Chimney Sweeper and Songs of Innocence on the left, is thinned and drooped on the right. The page is covered in a wash of gray watercolor, which dulls the print on top of it, as if shaded by a layer of soot. An imposing black sky looms over this child, pelts raindrops on his figure. On his back, the boy carries an immense sack, the physical burden of which causes him to hunch forward. The poem mirrors this story. The young sweep in Songs of Experience faces the cold ignorance of the government and church, turning a blind eye towards the treatment of sweeps in London. His parents have abandoned him to go pray in the church as the last stanza ends. They think they have done me no injury and are gone to praise God, his priest and king, who make up a heaven out of our nursery. Blake's message is clear. In this environment, the boy is abandoned and neglected by the two institutions which should be raising and educating him, that of the church and that of his family. These critiques of inequities caused by urban life are directly explored in one of his final plates of Songs of Experience in the work London. London follows the visual tone established in both the cover and the chimney sweeper in Songs of Experience. It's very bleak. There's no reference to the idealized pastoral country life now. Figures trudge around a dark built background. The palette is dull, with the exception of a growing fire. The child leading an older man into darkness appears at the top of the page, weighing down on the title London. Another figure sits next to the fire, and it's unclear whether this figure is attempting to warm themselves from the coldness of this scene or if they're recoiling in response to these growing smoke plumes. Dots of ink from the copper plate splatter over the page, kind of like dirt. Blake makes the darkness even more intense by reapplying black ink over top of the print. Blake begins with an insertion of the first person reflecting in his own voice. The speaker states, "I wandered through each chartered street near where the chartered Thames does flow, and mark in every face I meet marks of weakness, marks of woe." He continues how the chimney sweepers cry and the church is blackening, the phrase blackening church, with the mention of the crumbling institution of monarchy and the destitute state of marriage. These larger systems, transportation, labor, religion, government, domestic life, become poisoned in the city of London, as well as in Songs of Experience as a whole, as London literally walks into darkness. At the time, Blake was living in Lambeth. Growing industrialization infested this neighborhood as new production laws were passed. In Blake's own time, he witnessed his neighborhood's turn towards industry, as visualized in this plate. One way of interpreting Blake's songs is that experience emerged in response to the fall from the once ideal country lifestyle of innocence to the destitute, gray industrial imagery of experience. Innocence and Experience were finally published together as one book in 1794. The year before, 1793, Louis XVI was executed at the height of the Reign of Terror, and Britain declared war on France. Despite the critique that echoes through Songs of Experience, often in direct response to the poems and Songs of Innocence, the two works are inseparable. The hope facilitated in Songs of Innocence is not, in fact, crushed in Songs of Experience. To view one work as in that way, as superior to another in illustrating Blake's ideal or Blake's view of London or the role of an individual in the city, would be a disservice to the nuance generated by the unification publishing both songs together. One song can't exist without the other. Experience is not a disillusioned fall from Innocence's grace, but rather an exploration into the multifacetedness of our psyche, how the mind copes with and bears change. By combining these two works and publishing them together in 1794, Blake created a unified title page, seen on this slide. The title page balances both beauty and terror, as London in the songs balances between the pre- and post-industrial. The marginalia on the page recalls the flamboyant, flaming shapes of Gothic architecture, capturing the wonder of innocence and the reality of experience. The palette shifts between warm tones and pale, cool tones, sharpened through intense moments of contrast created by the reapplication of black watercolor over the print. The same process seen in London and the chimney sweeper in Songs of Experience. Two figures similar to Adam and Eve turn away, but also look up to the title itself. Perhaps Blake's own subtitle represents this balance best. Songs of Innocence and of Experience serves the reader by showing the two contrary states of the human soul. His visualizations of London are not completely destitute, as Experience alone might suggest. Oh. Moved a little too quickly there. And they're neither completely hopeful, like Innocence alone might suggest. Instead, in the 18th century, Blake's London exists between these two extremes, like the figures that both shield themselves from and turn towards the flame of the combined title page. This dynamic establishes the foundation for Blake's depiction of London in his final illuminated book, Jerusalem, the Emanation of the Giant Albion, dating from 1804 to 1820. There's a lot to say about the mythologies Blake invokes in Jerusalem, but I'm going to focus on only one page since we don't have that much time today. One of the final images Blake leaves the reader with in Jerusalem is his depiction of London on plate 84. Here, Blake reaches backwards in time and returns his depiction of London in Songs of Experience. A young child again leads an older figure, but this time the child leads the figure away from darkness and towards the church, which is identifiable as Westminster Abbey. Though London is blind and age-bent, begging through the street, as Blake writes, hope blossoms as the city is liberated, and this red light grows over the Gothic church. The sun erupts with the most saturated colors on the page out of this contrasting darkness. The light is further emphasized by the yellowy green sun and complemented by the use of red and red rays emanating from its center to create a kind of spectacular but also sort of menacing beauty. The child leading London is gentle and careful, guiding his path out of the darkness towards a kind of metaphoric, religious, ethical redemption. Comparing this print to the earlier depiction of London in Songs of Experience, the two images are tonally distinct down to the print process. Songs of Experience uses a dark brown ink on a much smaller scale, creating a sooty effect of the final image. In contrast, the orange ink used in Jerusalem adds warmth, and when combined with London's somber blue robes, reduces the overall contrast and makes London and the child appear more human, more natural. Facing a growing cosmopolitan and industrial world, that Blake witnessed change from his childhood on Broad Street, William Blake died in a drastically different London than the one into which he was born. His vision of the city that remains in his absence resonates, facing the uncertainty of life now amidst a rapidly shifting industry. Blake, like his vast, undefinable body of work, which I recommend you come check out, seems to exist out of time. The city he saw constantly changing echoes previous versions of itself. He pulls from the Gothic and even thousands of years before through his allusions to biblical references, while simultaneously pushing beyond the present by pursuing a relentless artistic radicalism. Blake's London is covered in soot, teeming with exploitation and industrialization, blind and crouched over, but as immortalized in his contrasting images, it is not without hope for a better future. Thank you so much for listening. Here is a list of illustrations included in the presentation. And please stay tuned for more presentations from fellow student tour guides. And I hope to see you in person when the museum reopens. Bye.